I hope you're doing well today. We're going to be looking in Luke chapter 6 today at the account of the disciples going through the field plucking the grain. Our hymn today is called There's a Wideness in God's Mercy.
There's a wideness in God's mercy, like the wideness of the sea. There's a kindness in His justice, which is more than liberty. There is welcome for the sinner, and the graces for the good. There is mercy with the Savior. There is healing in His blood. There is no place where sorrows are more felt than up in heaven. There is no place where sparing has such kindly judgment given. There is plentiful redemption in the blood that has been shed. There is joy for all the members in the sorrows of the head. For the love of God is broader than the measure of the mind, and the heart of the eternal is the wonderfully cried. If our love were but more faithful, we should take Him at His word, and our life would be thanksgiving for the goodness of the Lord.
There's a wideness in God's mercy. Let's look at our passage now in Luke 6, verse 1. Now it happened on the second Sabbath after the first that he went through the grain fields, and his disciples plucked the heads of grain and ate them, rubbing them in their hands. And some of the Pharisees said to them, Why are you doing what is not lawful to do on the Sabbath? But Jesus answering them said, Have you not even read this, what David did when he was hungry? He and those who were with him, how he went into the house of God, took and ate the showbread, and also gave some to those with him, which is not lawful for any but the priests to eat. And he said to them, The Son of Man is also the Lord of the Sabbath. To think about the account, and you have to be careful. The issue is in verses 3 and 4, the account of David. See, when David did that, is the Lord saying that what David did was acceptable, or did he simply want them to think about what David had done? Because they weren't typically in the habit of condemning David. And so it may be that what Jesus is saying is, the Lord understood what David did, and it was okay. Or he may be wanting them to think about the fact that they would not dare to condemn David for doing something that, there in verse 4, the Lord clearly says it was not lawful. Verse 4. So they would not condemn David for that, but they are willing to condemn the Lord's disciples for what they're doing. Just plucking the heads of grain. And so you might think about that, because what happened with David in the Old Testament when he did that, that led to the murder of quite a few of the priests. Remember that account when Saul, and I can't remember Saul's henchman's name there, but the command is given and the priests are struck down because of what, and David had a part in that. And when David hears the news, he feels very guilty about it. So I think it may be that the Lord is telling them, oh, so you're not willing to say anything about David, but you want to condemn my disciples for going through and just plucking some of the heads of the grain, right? The gleaning in the fields. Regardless, let's just make a few simple points. One is very simple. God is understanding. God is understanding, and God is merciful. God was merciful with David, and not everything David did was acceptable. You might think about the Bathsheba account. Was God still merciful with David? Certainly. Was that the only time that David needed God's mercy? I would encourage you to go back and read the account of the showbread. And not just the account, but the context. And especially when David hears the news that the priests have been murdered. And you can tell he is racked with guilt because of it. But God is merciful. God is understanding. And it's just sad that in this account, the Pharisees don't understand a bit. They don't understand it. And they don't understand. They have some real misunderstandings about work, for one thing. It's not like the disciples were going through farming. That's not what they were doing. They were just eating. They were, for lack of a better way of putting it, this was takeout. They're eating on the way, is what they're doing, and they're just taking, and and the Pharisees are saying, "Oh, that's work." They didn't understand work. And by the way, the Lord has a good bit to say about work, and the Lord doesn't deny that He Himself and His Father worked on the Sabbath. That's for another study. But they didn't understand about work, and they didn't understand about the Sabbath. They thought something that had been created, says in other places how Sabbath was made for man. Man was not made for the Sabbath. See, they thought something that was created to relieve, for relief. The Sabbath was created to relieve people, and they were making it burdensome. They thought the disciples, in an effort to remember the Sabbath and keep it holy, they thought they should go hungry and be burdened with hunger. And the Sabbath is about resting. They didn't understand. They thought, oh no, you're working. They didn't understand work. And they didn't understand God's mercy. That's why God created the Sabbath to begin with, because God is merciful and understanding, all those things. And so they're having a lot of trouble, aren't they? We should just be very thankful that God, as the hymn says, there is a wideness in God's mercy. Appreciate you. Hope you have a good day. Join us tomorrow for another portion of our daily praise.